Hey there. So I thought I'd shoot you guys a quick video. I'm actually adding a rear cargo light for my wife's JL since there's no lighting back there. I came up with a couple of ideas using a magnetic switch and a couple of adapters. But I also couldn't find any literature on how to get the rear panel off to get the cigarette lighter power. So I thought I'd just put this together really quick for you, just show you how I got into it, show you some of the parts I'm using if you want to add a cargo light to the back area. And anyways, yeah, so here we go. So first off, you're going to need to get the cover out here so you can get the jack cover plate or accessory part out. You're going to want to pull up on, you're going to want to pull the insulation off first. Let's just pull straight up and out of the way, straight out to you this way. This is going to take a nice little lift to pop that first one. There is a little catch right here that catches underneath this piece here. So if you push in real hard on this part here, that will move back far enough that you can pull it up and over the top of it. Then you have another clip right here, halfway up. There is another clip up here at the top. You are going to want to remove this one here that's on top of the seatbelt. This one just pries straight up, so you just get a small tool underneath it, pull up here, and there's a second clip towards the back there. Move that up out of the way. I just put it up here on the seatbelt to get it out of the way. And then you'll have two more clips here. They're going to pop loose, and this is the curvature here. And then another clip, two clips back here. Again, that's this area here. I did disconnect this wire harness and the washer fluid. The washer fluid is very simple. There's a little tab right there. You just push on that and then it'll uncouple. This one here, you're going to slide this red tab downward and you're going to push on it and then pull the coupling loose. Make sure you're very careful when you put it back together. Those tabs are very sensitive, so just be careful putting it back together. That gives enough room for the cable to come through this hole once you pull it through. So I don't need to take the whole panel off. There are additional clips down this way. I could continue to pop those off, but I just need access to the cigarette lighter power, which I've already unplugged before I started shooting this video. Again, that's also easy to get. I'll show you in a second. You can see the blue piece there. So at the rear of it, at the rear where the wires come in, on the underside, there's a retaining clip button. You're going to push upward on that as you pull it, and that'll come loose. Now, for the power adapter, I was able to get this piece from Quadratech. It is a mate for the factory plug, and then it gives you a fuse out. As you can see here again, a mate for the plug that I disconnected with the blue piece in it. The other end then will plug back into the plug that I unplugged from the cigarette lighter. Here's a fusible connection. This comes with a 10 amp fuse. I'm probably going to put a 5 in it because I'm only using it for LED lighting. And then a tap for the power. And then we'll also go over where the fuse is under the engine compartment that changes the configuration for the cigarette lighter to either be only on with accessory power, so in other words when your engine is running or when you're in the accessory position, or you can relocate the fuse position and that will make this a 24/7 outlet. So we'll show you that here in a minute. But in the rest of it here, I'll go ahead and show you how the rest of it's going together and we'll go from there. So as you can see, this piece is a nice long one, so this is going to plug in where the cigarette lighter is. And I have this nice long pigtail that's going to come around. That way I'll have access to the fuse and to the wire connection. I'm actually going to put them right here in this space so that I can get to them easily. Should I need to change a fuse, should I need to switch out the wiring, whatever. It'll also allow me to give me a connection point to run up the actual inside of the space where they've run wires up to here, so that I can pull the wiring out here for the light. And I'm actually going to stick a self-adhesive LED strip right along here. Apologize for the quality of the video here. It's shooting at one hand and see if we can do it in one shot. So here we go so far. So I'll get that together and we'll show you how that looks and show you how I get that wire down through there. Okay, so again, here's on this blue one, there'll be a clip on the bottom very similar to this one. Just push that to pull that clip out. This one's going to go right back into it the same way it was. And then you'll take the other end and clip that back into the blue one. And this is fun trying to do one-handed and hold this panel out of the way. But determination. Haha, got it. And now this wire, we'll go ahead and run that up into this space that up in that space, and we'll pull that in and dress it up really nice, and then we'll snap everything back in. Also, I forgot there is another retaining clip. So this one here, here's another one here, and another one all the way down here. And there it is, it fell out. This is what they look like. There's a little button snap. These are much nicer than some of the other ones they've designed, so that's just going to go right back in through the bottom on this one. There we go. Okay, we'll get this wire dressed out, put it in the right place, and then we'll go back. Excuse me, we'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so I got my wire kind of cleaned up and dressed up in there a little bit. You can see it's kind of tucked in behind the panel. I was having some difficulty. If you're having trouble putting it back in, it's not the wire that's in the way. See that black pin? Oh, get it focused better here. There's a black pin that goes into a hole in the body right back here, down here by the tip. You'll see it lines up with a hole here. It's just not lining up correctly, so we're just going to get it to push that. Darn focus. We're going to push that piece back so it lines up in the hole better. See if we can zoom in on it a little bit better. And now let's focus on everything else but that. Shucks darn. Anyways, you'll see a very long, large black piece coming off of this part of the body, and it wants to go into a hole in the metal body. Just get that to line back up. It should go right back together fine. So we'll get that fixed, and you can see brought the wire up around here, up through here to join the rest of the wires in the windshield wiper fluid, and then again comes out in here so that I have it for easy access. Okay, so we got everything back together. We got it all snapped in. This piece here, inserted back in. Remember, there's two little tabs right here, so it's going to come in at an angle and then snap back down in. Everything's pushed back together, snap back in place. Again, this piece here, to get it back in place, just push in really hard. That will make that plastic tab that goes under the carpet push back and snap back in place. Get that back in snug, snap it in place, and put our insulation back in place. And we're good there. We'll put this back in when we're done. Next, we have to fish a wire from here up to here, where everything else comes out. This is our window defrost wiring. So we want to be careful. We don't want to damage any of that, so the window defroster works. So next, we'll get that through. All right. So we need to get this piece out to make it easier to get the wire through. This one actually is very simple. You're just going to pull down on it. Get a grip around the body here, grab it with your fingers, and just pull down. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. Pull it down on it, and then it'll rock right out. And that gives you access to this. I'm going to go ahead and leave all this in place because I'm just going to fish the wire right back through this hole when I'm done, so I'm not going to worry about the coupling. And you got two little pieces of foam right here. That's just to keep it from rattling inside the body and to keep tension on the clips. We've got this. This is a giant zip tie. I use it for air conditioning ducting to hold it. The insulation around the duct, but I like them because they're very flexible, but yet they're rigid, and I actually melted a little hole in the tip of it so I can stick a wire through it and pull the wire back through. So we're going to use this to get down in there. I'll put that in there and start running it down. Turn it a little bit, play with it. And maybe not as easy as I thought. There we go. Just got to find that little pocket. And you can see I've actually got it in there. I don't know if you can see it wiggling around in there. You can see some of the plastic moving around. So I'm going to get a little hook, and we'll get that fished out of there really quick, and we'll show you the next part. Alrighty. So, a little work, but we fished it out of there. You can see I've got my wires run through. It's got the hole in the end of it. Normally I would tape this up to keep it slipping off, but the hole is so tight for those 4 wires. And yes, 4 wires. I only need 2 for just plain white lighting. But I got the other wires in there just in case maybe I want to run something else as a wire, or my wife wants to upgrade and do RGB lights. And this is actually just a scrap piece of RGB wire from the rock lights under hers as well. So anywho, let's get this pulled through and see how that goes. And this is actually going very smoothly. There we go. We're out already. You can see plenty of slack. All right, we'll go ahead and work on the next step of this, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the next part is going to be doing some electronics work. This is a little low voltage relay. The reason we're using this low voltage relay is that this magnetic switch does not have the current capacity. In other words, the amount of power flowing through the wire, the little switch inside is not heavy duty enough to handle the full amount of current or the electricity that will be flowing through to actually power the lights. So what we're going to have to do is take this magnetic switch, hook it into this relay, and then this relay only draws a very minuscule amount of power through it. So that will then activate this relay. When the switch activates the relay, there's a heavier relay inside of here that will handle the amount of power that's flowing through it. And then that will send the power through to the wires for the lights. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of options for switches this small, and this is very small. This is actually, these came out from residential alarm systems. It's really hard to find one this small that will carry the amount of current that the lights are going to put through it. Now, they are LED lights. There's not a lot of current running through them, but unfortunately, if you know what the switch inside of this actually looks like, you'll see it is very, very thin, lightweight metal because it has to be reactive to a magnetic force. If you are trying to build this on your own, make sure that you do get a normally open. Double check it if you can. You want to make sure that this switch stays open when the magnet is next to it. This way it de-energizes the relay and no power goes through the lighting. You want it, because if you do, like I said, if you do the normally closed switch instead of a normally open, when you close your door, the magnet's going to engage, that's going to close the circuit, and power is going to come on, and it's not going to work. It's going to work the opposite of what you want. So you want a normally open switch so that when the magnet's nearby, the circuit is open in here, no power can travel through. Then when the magnet moves away, the circuit closes, allows power to go through. So anyways, let's double back and we'll get this wired up and we'll show you how that works. Okay, so I actually ended up making up two pieces. These are soldered onto the boards, the circuit boards. If you're doing this, you'll understand these little copper strips here are cut points. You cut it right in half at that point, and you see one mark is marked 12 volts positive, the other side is marked negative. I actually have this cute little Ryobi cordless soldering iron. Just soldered the wires onto those, heat shrank it to help hold the wires, give it take the strain off of the solder points, and then made this little terminal block, soldered the wires together into the terminal block. One of the things I like to do with these terminal blocks, because of the size of the holes, I take the wires, strip them, fold it back, and then wrap it around the wire itself. That way you have a 360-degree point of contact before putting it into these terminal blocks. And then once you wire it in and tighten up the screw, you'll have full contact all the way around. So just wanted to show you that little piece real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and start wiring up the other end with the relay. Also found a neat little place to put the magnetic switch. Literally just pulled the insulation straight out, tucked it into the hole, pushed it back in, and it seemed to be holding it pretty firm. And that gets it close enough to the glass that the magnet should trigger it. I didn't get a chance to test that yet, but I think it'll work. All right, before I go to the relay and all that wiring, I just wanted to show you, since I got impatient and put the lights up. Give you this picture real quick. Just a little OCD, like to be straight and even. Instead of trying to go out and around, since the wires ended up so close to the hole, I just tucked them behind the plate. If you want, you could probably carve out a little on it, make it a little more flush. I'm never going to see this, so it's not going to bother me. My wife is never going to see it, so she's not going to come after me on it. I left some slack up inside, so if I ever need to work on this, I can pull it out and work on the terminal strip. Again, then the wire comes all the way down, and so we'll go ahead and wire in the relay and get the power to it, and we'll show you all that once it's wired. Okie dokie, so we got it up and running. So here we have our wire harness coming from the cigarette lighter with our fuse and all that to protect it. We have our trigger side input here. So you can see the positive wire from the box and the negative wire from the, positive wire from the harness and the negative wire for the harness going into the DC positive and negative, the red and the black there. The black also jumpers over to the wire that runs to the LEDs so that the negative wire is connected together. This also needs a positive voltage trigger. So you can see the white wire goes to the magnetic switch, then comes back from the magnetic switch and goes into the positive trigger. Positive that again into the DC in for that. The blue wire comes around and goes to the common on your relay. And then the normally open red wire goes back into our wiring harness to go up to the LED lights. Green light tells us that we've got voltage. And then when we open the window, we get light. When we close the window, we get light. Now, unfortunately, the distance on this magnet is not great enough, so the magnet's going to be out here in this area. So I'm going to have to move this magnet a little closer, which means I'm going to probably have to wipe this area with some IPA really good and probably put some type of an adhesive there to hold this in place so that I can get it close enough to this. I also have some additional magnets that I might have to use to get this magnet further in to get close enough to that to trigger it. But that's how it works. We're going to go ahead and get the rest of this cleaned up, buttoned up, all done, and we'll just give you a full show afterwards. Okay, so I didn't have a piece of shrink tubing large enough to do this whole thing in, so I put a little piece of adhesive tape on the back of it, foam tape, on the back, just to protect the circuits from pushing through into the metal inside of here. And then just put a couple layers of tape on it and left the light exposed so I can tell if I'm troubleshooting. I can see it really easy without having to tear it apart. Somebody might say, oh, well, that's going to be a parasitic drain on your system. Yeah, the rest of the computers and stuff are probably drawing more power than that little tiny LED light. So I'm not horribly worried about that. If it becomes a problem, then I'll redo it. So we're going to go ahead and get all this stuff tucked away. I still have to glue that in, but thought I'd just give you a quick shot of that before I close everything up and forget. All right, so we got everything wired up and set up. So let's give it a try here. I think we got everything lined up right. There we go. Little tape there. I used some adhesive to hold this in place instead of the little sticky pad on it. I just don't trust those little factory sticky pads. So my favorite go-to is the 3M plastic emblem and trim adhesive. You can pick this up at most of your auto parts stores. So, got all the wires rerun, everything back in place, cap is covered up, and then we have our corresponding magnet right in place. So there we go. Once this dries up, we'll get this tape off, everything will look good and clean again. We'll get the covers back in here, and we are good to go. Anyways, if you guys have any questions on this, most of these, I actually picked up all these parts on Amazon with the exception of the shrink tubing and soldering iron and everything that I had there. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I kept it short enough, and we'll see you next time. Thought we were done, huh? Nope. I promised you I'd show you where that fuse is so you can change the cargo power, whether it's going to be 24/7 or it follows the accessories, basically meaning it's only on when your vehicle is running or an accessory. So here we are in your fuse box under the hood. Now on this particular model, this is 2024. This is actually listed as number 43, fuse 43. Where'd we go? Fuse 43. There we are. Power outlet cargo battery. That is going to be right there in the middle. I don't know if you can quite see that where it says fuse 43. That is this guy right there. Now, if you take a really close look at it, I'm going to zoom in for you here. Find it again. There we are. There we are. Fuse 43. If you see, there is a spot right next to it. So if you take this fuse out from this position where it's at right now, this is set as always on. If you pull that fuse out and move it over just to have a spot right into that spot right there next to it. So take it from here. Whoop, I'm going to zoom back out. So if you take it from right here and move it over a half a space so it's in that spot in the center, this will then make your cargo power in the back set up so that it follows the ignition of the car. So basically it means that that power in the back will shut off when you shut off your engine. So anyways, hope that helped. Thank you again for watching this video. Appreciate it. We're going to try and get some more uploaded. Got a couple of trips and stuff I'm trying to get cut. Unfortunately, I work full time, so it's really hard to edit my own videos. But we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Holy shit. It's really bright in there.
You can actually see what you're looking for. Adding a cargo light, 2024 JL.